Let's time travel back to when I was a kid growing up in the 90s. The two big powerhouses during the first half of the decade were Nintendo and Sega, duking it out for dominance during the bit wars. Our obsession with bits mixed with developers' lust for gold caused a widespread rush of console manufacturing. Seriously, in the 90s here in the United States, there were like 16 different consoles released by about 9 different developers, and that's not even counting the handheld market. Then the second half of the decade brought us the PlayStation, as Sony began their dynasty, accompanied by the Sega Dreamcast, as Sega's dynasty in the console game was coming to an end. So as I've mentioned in previous videos, I'm an old man. I've lived through and witnessed a lot in regards to gaming. Growing up in the 90s, I was a Nintendo kid, having an original Nintendo, Super Nintendo, and a Nintendo 64. I completely missed out on almost everything Sega, with the exception of playing a Genesis at a friend's house or at a game store somewhere. I did have a Game Gear, but I hated it compared to the superior Game Boy. I also have a super foggy memory of playing Panzer Dragoon at a Sega Saturn demo station, but I can't remember when, where, or how I would even come across a Sega Saturn, let alone a demo setup for it. Now that I'm an adult and a collector, there have been lots of consoles and games that I want to check out that I've never played. Most are from my youth, but some are from before I was even born. In this video, I just want to go over a handful of consoles that I'm interested in getting into and add to my collection. So let's get started with Nintendo's 90s nemesis, Sega. I have a Sega Genesis, Sega CD, and a Dreamcast, and I gotta say out of all of them, I really enjoyed the Dreamcast the most. But recently I've been interested in Sega's middle child CD unit, the Sega Saturn. All I really know about it is what I've read on the internet or from watching YouTube gameplay videos. I want to experience it firsthand and how it runs and operates. I want to check out games like Dragon Force, Guardian Heroes, the previously mentioned Panzer Dragoon, and of course Panzer Dragoon Saga, which a lot of people say is amazing. Of course, I could emulate these, which I may end up doing someday, but I'm a retro game collector. I want to hold this stuff in my hands and see it on my TV. The way I am when I collect games is like this. I first get the console, then I start looking deeper into its games library, and in doing so, I find stuff I've never heard of, seek it out, acquire it, and the serotonin in my brain is increased tenfold. Is this healthy? Probably not, but I'm gonna do it anyway. And who knows, maybe my desire of getting into the Saturn is more to feed my addiction to this feeling. Collecting anything is just an emotional roller coaster of ups and downs. It's hard for me not to indulge. Is my wanting of the Saturn a cool goal of gaming, or is it really a cry for help, for someone to stop me from throwing money at this? I don't know, you tell me. Also, the Japanese Saturn commercials with Segata Sanshiro are fucking awesome. Next up, we're staying in the Sega realm with the Master System. I've never seen this console in real life. In fact, the only 3 things I know about this console is the grid box arts are ugly as fuck, Phantasy Star 1 is on it, and the console itself just looks badass. Seriously, the sleek black with the red overlay and the white and black decals, I feel like I'm looking at a Gundam model. Even the controller looks awesome. Now, I don't know how well it functions, but it just looks cool, especially when it's compared to the fat gray NES. Like, if I knew nothing about gaming and someone put these two side by side and just asked me to pick based on appearance, I'd go Master System all the way. But yeah, I know damn near nothing about this console, nor what games are really good for it. So I'll leave it to anyone watching this video with Master System knowledge. Please educate me about this console. Leave a comment telling me what games are good, which ones suck, any cool tidbits about the system. I could just research it on the internet, but it's just fun to learn about things in gaming using my YouTube channel and chatting with random gamers. That's been one of my big thrills from doing all this. The next console on my list is one of the kind of oddball, or maybe I should say not so popular 90s consoles that I've wanted since I was a kid, and that's the Neo Geo. Specifically the AES model, not the CD. What made me want it is that I always loved playing on the Neo Geo arcade cabinets. They'd have a selection of games stocked with Metal Slug, Fatal Fury, Samurai Showdown, or any other seemingly of the millions of fighting games SNK pumped out back in the day. I remember seeing pictures of the console and loving the giant cartridges and that it came with an arcade stick. I even got the Neo Geo X Gold when it came out and played the shit out of it, but it's not exactly the same. This is just a want as part of my collection versus wanting to game on it. I've just wanted one for so long that my collection feels a tad incomplete without it. I wouldn't even want a giant library of games for it, just a couple games like a Metal Slug game, a few fighting games, and a game I never knew about that is awesome. But much like a lot of things in this video, I'd have to be willing to empty my bank account to get them, which is why I still don't have an actual Neo Geo. I mean, look at this. I still haven't even bought a PS5 yet because I don't want to drop $500 on it, let alone want to drop $750 on a Neo Geo. The final console on my list is actually my most desired console, which was released all the way back in 1982, and that's the Vectrex. A vertical CRT, gaming console, and controller all built into one. It uses vector graphics, and some games for it had a 3D first-person perspective, which was pretty new and interesting at the time, like Web Wars. There was no color, but the games had overlays you would put over the monitor, as a type of colored graphics replacement, I'm assuming. Now, why do I want this ancient device? Honestly, I just love the aesthetic and the idea of it. It looks like what early sci-fi movies saw as the future, as if this was a console pulled straight out of Blade Runner or something. The vertical CRT gives me arcade vibes, and the controller has a joystick which just adds to that. And it's all surrounded by a dark gray molded plastic that just takes me back in time. The overlays look goofy, but in a fun way. It's something I've never experienced from an analog age outside of using a Macintosh once when I was really little. To me, the Vectrex is just a symbol of its time and a piece of history that I want to own and play. The past of gaming is just as enjoyable for me as its future. Game collecting helps me bridge the foundation with the current evolution of gaming, and I don't think I'll ever want to stop collecting consoles and games from the past. There's so much I haven't played and experienced, and I want to sponge up as much as I can. That is, if my wallet lets me. What are some consoles that you've never played? What are some you would love to try? Feel free to share them. Thank you for watching.